Hey Toy Family, welcome to the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
I'm Teresa Hawkins.
And just so you know, as you listen to this entire episode, you might hear this. That is our back in the day counter. That will go off every time back in the day is said. Teresa, how you feeling? You feel like we're getting a little bit of that podcast mojo back?
I think so. Hopefully the listeners think so. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's still some magic in our wands. We've been trying some new things, trying some new tricks, and it seems to be working out. We're getting a little more engagement on the comments and people letting us know that, yes, we got stagnant, we hear you, and we're going to try new things. Not the Toy Chronicle new things, but we're trying.
Yeah, we're dabbling back into guests, but we'll still bring some toy talk every now and again. It'll be a good mix. I'm feeling the mojo. I'm feeling it rising back up in me.
I've noticed you got a little more toy spirit in you, a little more pep. That's good. And you've been putting together some good notes and ideas for concepts and stuff that we can do. Honestly, I don't know that we can do all of them on record, especially if we have a guest, but it's stuff that I think we can start doing for the Facebook group.
Well, and I think I've been trying to save notes for a Toy Talk episode. I think we've talked about maybe trying to do Toy Talk once a month and then guests intermingled within that. So we'll see. I don't know. We plan all we can, but we never really stick to plans for very long.
Well, let's get right to it then. We have a guest joining us tonight. So anyone who's been in the designer toy scene for any length of time, whether you're just starting out or you're a veteran from the early 2000s, you're definitely aware of this man, or should be. He is a large presence, and that's in the literal sense, but he's also a big player in the designer toy game. He's done a ton of different toys, all of which I'm not even going to try to pronounce the names of. He's also worked with a lot of different companies, Kuso Vinyl, Toy Cube, Adfuncture, Kidrobot, and more recently, Unruly Industries. He's honestly one of the best dudes in the industry. I don't know him all that well, but that's the reputation he has. So let's go ahead and welcome the pioneer of the urban Aztec style, Jesse Hernandez. Welcome, Jesse.
What up? Thanks for having me on, bro.
What's going on, man?
Chilling. Thanks for the dope intro. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, man, and I don't think you and I have actually sat down and ever had a conversation. We've run into each other at conventions a lot of times, a lot of high fives and man hugs, but we never actually talked, so this is our chance.
Right on, bro. Yeah, I was like, I feel like we've crossed paths a bunch of times, but didn't necessarily get to hang out like that much. So, yeah, no, it's definitely a solid pickup right here.
Yeah, you're a West Coast guy, so I've crossed paths with you at San Diego, DesignerCon, all that stuff.
For sure.
You're still in Sacramento?
So I'm in Oakland.
Oakland, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, in the Northern California Bay Area.
Nice, okay. Now, Jesse, I'm going to admit, I'm a little nervous in talking to you because actually, Teresa, I don't think you even know this because I know you did some research up on him, but I didn't see it in the notes. Jesse here used to host a TV series that was essentially bringing awareness to the designer toy scene. He'd walk around and interview and talk to people. And yeah, so the fact that you did that's a little intimidating to me trying to host you.
Wait, like cable TV?
Yeah, so this was Vinyl Addiction. It was on Mixed TV. And but they had like kind of limited markets where there was, the different coasts and like they were picking up new coverage with different cable carriers at different times. And so it was kind of, you weren't sure if everyone was getting it all the time, and then we would have it online also. But yeah, it was called Vinyl Addiction. And so we would go around and chop it up with folks at, their store, visit studios, and I think we shot at San Diego Comic-Con, and which was always wild trying to do interviews at Comic-Con with all the chaos going on there. But yeah, no, so it was good times. It was funny, man. Like, originally, I wasn't planning to be the host of that show either. And they were like, no, dude, you have to do it because no one else would even know what they're talking about. It would seem like super fake, bro. And
right.
So then I ended up like, all right, yeah, we'll try it out. I don't know how this will go. And, you kind of like learn on the job. And I felt like it got better every time.
Yep.
Like by the end, you're like, wow, this is really good. All right,
yeah,
we're getting pretty legit at this stuff,
Sounds like us.
Right?
You know what? I actually went back and watched an entire episode last night because I knew you were coming on, Jesse, so I was just doing some research and stuff. And next thing I know, I'm sitting there watching a full episode. It was the one with Michael Lau and Rob Dyrdek of Fantasy Factory.
Yeah.
And yeah, these were 30-minute episodes, Teresa, and they would talk to people and go to shows and whatnot, and it was really well produced. Jesse did the full animated intro. They had music and actual real editing. Not like this show. It was like legit.
No, it was solid, bro. I missed that one. I mean, I'd love to start doing it again at some point. But yeah, like at the time too, it was crazy because we were working on a cartoon over there at the channel, and then when they started doing mix, they were like, "Hey, do you guys want to come up with some other show ideas?" And we pitched them, and they're like, "Great, now go make that too." And we're like, "Oh, okay." So I guess now I'm doing like 3 different shows. All right, that's cool. Yeah, so it was a little hectic at times, but it was always fun, and we'd be fighting for editors and stuff. So a lot of times you'd end up editing yourself, and so when I would go on shoots, and oftentimes it's just me and the cameraman, Big Joe Perry. So like it would just be me and him, and so I would be like producing and hosting, and then I'd be like, "Joe, how's our audio?" He's like, "We're good." So he'd be like audio and camera, and he'd have the one set camera, and then he'd have another one that he's doing handheld, so you get more out of focus, cool stuff going on with that. But yeah, it was wild, man. So we went to New York, just me and him, and shot tons of footage, just all over the place. And but yeah, dude, good times. Yeah, like the Fantasy Factory one, that was wild. Tracy Tubera set all that up because he was I don't know if you guys know, but he was the artist for Rob Dyrdek during the Fantasy Factory time.
Yeah, did the whole wild grinders, everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
you guys, I think you guys had like 25 high fives in that episode.
Dude, yeah. You have no idea. Oh my! I think all of the B-roll was Trace. Like, no, it was so classic, bro. Like the whole time. Anytime we ask a question, we would go like on some tangent for 30 minutes. I'm like, dude, we're never gonna get through this. Like, it was just nonstop comedy.
It sounds like you guys are a lot more similar to us than I realized. I thought you guys were like this full production house, and then yet it sounds like mainly 2 guys doing most of the work. And then honestly, we're kind of similar to you as well. We just end up ranting, and next thing I know, we have 2 hours of material, and I have to cut 30 minutes out. But man, I'm jealous you got to go to the Fantasy Factory. I love Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah, so yeah, and then actually, I think when we were at Fantasy Factory, we also had another buddy of ours, and they were doing a show, a lifestyle show called Straight Lace, because then they were interviewing other skaters and stuff like that too while we were there.
Okay.
What was his name? Terry Kennedy was there, and Paul Rodriguez was there.
Oh damn.
Yeah, no, it was legit, dude, the whole time. And I still remember when I first met Rob, I was like, "What, dude? What's going on right now?" And I mean, he's like the most professional cat I've ever interviewed. Like he did a drop for the show, 1 take, the best drop anyone's ever done for the show. like he wasn't even trying. I was like, "Are you serious, man?" Like,
see, Teresa, we've always talked about having our guests do drops, and every time we forget. We'll have to get Jesse to do a drop for us before you get off.
We'll do it.
Okay. I'm just the fact that there was a show for vinyl toys.
Right? Crazy.
Ow.
And there was, Toy Break, you heard, and it's just, Jesse, while you're here, I want to know, because one thing that we struggle with, and what we were talking about, how we struggle with covering all aspects of the scene for all collectors and designer toys to want to listen to, is just covering everything that, the areas of the designer toy that you're just not that familiar with. Did you have struggles with that, and did you have to research to be able to carry a conversation with people in certain aspects that maybe you weren't that familiar with?
I mean, yeah, I think most of the people that were on the show, I mean, I think, I was, for the most part, a fan of already.
Yeah.
But oftentimes it would be the first time we ever met and we're doing an interview, Like, I think, Sucklord, I think that was the first time we ever met. I went to his studio. That was out of control. And,
I bet.
And then I did an interview with Bigfoot while he was still out in New York also. And we're talking, next thing I know, we start the interview and he throws his hair over his face and I was like, "Yo, what just happened?" "All right, well, just roll with it. Act like it's normal." And I was like, "All right, I didn't know he was going to do that. That's cool."
Is there a way to see the rest of them? I only found the one that was on your website.
Yeah, not at this moment. It's been uploaded a few times to YouTube and whatever, but for whatever reason, they keep taking it up and down and whatever because it's still owned by ABS-CBN.
Okay.
I have some of them up on my site, and I do have all the episodes. I've been meaning to post them up all on my site or whatever at some point. I think there's 2 or 3 episodes up there right now. But yeah, it's a trip now too because it's like a time capsule where it's like this is what, 2008 to 2011 ish, something like that, when all this was done. And like, so we shot the pilot 2008, and then I think we started actually making it 2009. The very first interview was with Market 27 at Monkey King. So that was like the test one we did. And while we were there, we shot with Jensen with Gallery 1988, and then also got an interview with Joe Hahn from Lincoln Park. And that one was a trip because I was like, the day after doing an art show, and like, all right, man, I'm fully like destroyed at this point and trying to, interview him and stuff. And I was like, at the same time, like, wow, we're really just chilling in here. Okay, this is cool. And yeah, Joe was cool as hell. His collection is out of control, and this was 10, 11 years ago, because he had a store called Suru on Melrose back in the day, and which was a super dope, like, lifestyle shop. They had toys, clothing, like different apparel with different artists and stuff. And
I remember going back to Melrose, and on the same strip, you can go to that store, you can go to Japan LA, you can go to Kidrobot, Monkey King. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was the spot back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like the Rodeo Drive of toys. Was Melrose.
Yeah,
but not as fancy.
Time, for sure. At the time, it was crazy. And then what was it? What was Gino's shop?
Tag.
Yeah, Tag. And then Tag came out, and that was like directly across the street from Monkey King and Suru, I think.
Yeah.
Then you had Kidrobot down the way. But yeah, it was just a jumping spot back in the day.
Yeah, I remember when I would go. I grew up in Phoenix. When I would go out there and visit my friend Scott, that's usually where we would go when we pick one day and go to Melrose for the day and shop hop. But let's get talking to you though, Jesse. So
yeah, for sure.
When did you discover designer toys, or how did you get introduced to it?
So for me, the very beginning, I was working at a shop in Sonoma, California called Images in Motion, and a dude came into the shop named Roy Miles, who you might be familiar with. The Ghetto Geppetto. So he did a toy called the Biddies back in the day. Which back in the days is literally what Biddies means, actually. Which I'm like, that's funny that just happened naturally. But so there were all these dope little hip hop toys that were kind of like, Lego style. And so he introduced me to Kidrobot, which had just opened up a little bit before that. And I was like, what, graffiti and toys? Like, are you serious? Like, this is perfect, Yeah. So just seeing all that stuff, and then so bouncing from there to check out all the stuff Kidrobot was doing, I started collecting that. Yeah, it's kind of like fell in love with the whole scene at that time. I think the Vinyl Will Kill book was out at that time, and I was like checking everybody out in there. Yeah, no, so it was stuff that had never been done, and you're tripping out on it. And the stuff Michael Loud was doing was insane, and then just seeing what everybody else was doing. And myself personally, I started doing customs from there, trying to figure out how to get your own productions and whatever, things like that. And so back in the day, you couldn't get a blank, like there was no such thing either, and so you'd have to paint over, sacrifice one of your own pieces to make one.
Yeah.
Yep. Which I'm sure kids nowadays are like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah, drop $40 on something and then have to strip it. It's painful.
Yeah, man. Like, it's all right. Well, I bought this to kill it, so all right.
And this is back when you're talking the early 2000s or mid 2000s. That's when.
Yeah. This is like 03, 04 ish.
Yeah. So Kidrobot was just starting out. It was.
Yeah. So I guess 2002 is probably when I was first introduced to it.
Yeah, and back then that's when they used to call these urban vinyl toys. Yeah, they still call them designer toys, but not for some reason. A little history lesson for those not familiar. In the late 1990s, Michael Lau, who we've already mentioned a few times, he was invited to do a cover for a band. I can't remember the name of the band, but he was doing these toys just for friends and family. But then he put this toy on the cover of this album, and then the toy line ended up being the Gardeners. You might have heard of that series, but that series was what people say is really the first start of the urban vinyl toy. And then Kidrobot started up, and Paul Bundes is working with a lot of art, street artists from New York and LA, and so the scene back in the early 2000s was a lot more urban and street art influence on vinyl toys.
Yeah. So back in the day, that's how it was.
And speaking of which, did you meet Paul Bundes at back then the San Francisco location?
Yeah. So I started getting stuff in there, and at the time, Huck G was the manager of the San Francisco store. And
such a crazy thought.
And so just was going in there collecting stuff, and and then got invited to do like the first money show. This was like '05, I think. So that was when they were introducing, the blank money character and all that. So that was a dope show that, I think they did that one at all the different stores like New York, LA, and San Francisco at the time. And then they auctioned them all off. And yeah, that was like the first like actual blank that they had put out with Kidrobot.
Yeah.
So your way into the scene really was first with customizing different platforms.
Well, I guess collecting first and then onto customs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started as a collector for sure.
I'm trying to think. What was your first production? Was it Kidrobot or was it Toy Kim?
It was actually Kaching Brands, which became Mind Style. So I did a Fooly Cooly robot, the Canty robot, and so they forget who all had versions of it. It was myself, I think Mad did one, Tristan Eaton, and I want to say like one or two other people were on it, but it was so like they only made like 100 of each one. And so that was the very first like production piece. And then from there, the next one was the Jaguar Warrior Dunny with Kidrobot.
Yes, and here's something I don't understand, Jesse. I did my research. So your Jaguar Dunny came out in 2009, but the Aztec Dunny series, the first one, came out in like 2007.
Yeah, I
said you're the pioneer of the Aztec style, the urban Aztec style, and yet you were not in the first series. You were in the second series. How did you get overlooked for the first one?
So, funny story. So I think because they left me out of that first series was the reason they went straight to an 8-inch with me.
Okay.
Like, right. They were like, "Yo, our bad. Like we fully like messed up not having you in here. Let's do an 8-inch right now." I'm like, "Cool, that'll work. I like that better."
Yeah, that paid off better.
Yeah. No. So yeah, it was kind of weird when it came out, and everyone's like, "Yo, why aren't you in there, bro?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah, it seems like a perfect fit. Yeah, because I was.
Yeah.
Thinking...
So then when the second one came around, I actually did the box design and everything. And then had one of the chase figures, which is always cool.
Nice. Teresa, you hanging in there?
I'm here. You all are throwing out so many things left and right that I'm just like, all these names. You know how bad I am. I'm like, I can't. I'm trying.
When we talk about heyday stuff, Jesse, like Teresa came in. You came in, started collecting, 6 years ago, somewhere in there? 5, 6 years?
Longer than that. I think it was like 2012.
Okay. So a lot of the stuff pre-2012, especially when we talk about heyday and talking about what it was like going to a Kidrobot signing and having, lines out the door and all that sort of stuff. It's not something that she experienced. So
it was nuts back in the day.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I'm always hearing about all these like signing parties and releases and whatever. Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming maybe even for your first 8-inch or maybe others, like did they have launch parties at these Kidrobot stores with crazy crowd?
So when the Jaguar Warrior Dunny came out, so I did a 4-day signing event. So we went from
4 days.
Yeah, it was crazy. No, it was nuts, dude. So legit, they flew me to New York. Next day I was in Miami. Next day LA. Next day San Francisco. And everywhere you went, then they sold out everywhere they went. It was crazy. Yeah. You'd be up there signing for 3 hours or something, and people are lined up around the building. It was nuts, like back in the day. It was so tight.
Different times, completely different times.
And then as things definitely changed after that. But for those first few years, man, it was nuts. Every signing you had, it was crazy. And I remember that one was nuts too, because when I went to New York, and then my flight from New York to Miami was delayed 4 times. And I was like, messaging him like, "Yo, look, just tell people to stick around. Like, whenever the hell I get there, I'll sign everything you need signed. I got no other plans, man. I'm here for that." And so, people ended up sticking around, and I fully got there after this shit should have been done, and ended up signing everybody's stuff and hanging out for a minute, and then hopping on a flight 5 hours later to LA.
That's crazy to think you're just.
That's the only time I was even in Florida.
Damn.
Was that?
It's like a freaking book tour or something. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then when I did the Calavera Dunny, so we did New York and then LA and San Francisco. I think there either wasn't a Florida one at that time anymore, or they just passed over for whatever reason. But so that was 3 days for the Calavera one.
Crazy.
And then when they would do the 3-inch dunnies, you know, like the different ones, the sets that would come out, they would normally have like a cool signing party at like Kidrobot, and like they tried to get a few artists from the area that were in the set. Like I did a couple signings with Huck and Frank Kozik, and then we did Dragatomi for the Apocalypse series. It was like me, Hydro 74, and Chris Reiniak were all there signing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You got his name in there. Teresa, you didn't have to do it. Jesse did it for you.
Big Chris, what up, bro?
Damn it. One episode. I'm going to get an episode where his name is not mentioned. It's going to happen.
I didn't know it was a problem, man. My bad.
It's not a problem.
It's not a problem. It's just an ongoing joke that we have because it always seems to happen. You can try not to, and it's going to somehow come up.
Somehow, some way, he makes his way into every conversation.
That's awesome.
He is. What's that game where it's like eight connections?
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, so we got basically our 6 degrees of Chris Reiniak.
But it's like 1 degree because he shows up every time.
Yes, one.
Man.
Always somehow connects back to Chris.
Hell yeah. No, he's good peeps, man. No, that's hilarious.
What I like what you're saying is that you're throwing out all these names when we're talking 2004, 2006, early mid 2000s, and all of the names you're throwing out are still in the game and very prominent today. Mad, although Mad's kind of doing his own thing, he's going off and designing toys for other companies under his own brand. But Kozik and Sket and Tristan, Huck, everyone's still around. It's not like you're throwing out names that we're not familiar with anymore.
No, it's funny. I think another dude that was a huge influence at the beginning was Frank Kozik too. Yeah. So I want to say like 2005, I had bought some toys from him and just said, "Hey man, can I stop by your studio to pick him up?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." And then I would go in there and be like, "What the hell is all this stuff?" And tripping out on everything, and be like, "Yo, Frank, how you get down with Kidrobot?" And now he's the man at Kidrobot, which is crazy. How that all ended up too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been a beast forever. So
it's crazy to hear Huck manage the store.
it seems super weird now to say that, but right? Yeah, it's the truth. That like when I met him, that's where he was, and he had the the skull head on his neck. I'm like, "Wait, are you Huck, bro?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, oh shit, that's crazy.
It's weird how the world works.
And then back in the day, you had the message board.
That's right.
It was like a huge thing, and I'm actually like we were all moderators on that back in the day. Like Huck was like the monitor, Frank was, I was, I think Mad was, Sket was.
See, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew the forums existed. I would just pop in and lurk, so I didn't go deep into it. So to learn that you guys were all moderators too, I had no idea.
Yeah, so we all had different threads we would handle. Huh. And it was crazy, man, back in the day. Like, because I remember being kind of intimidated by the board too, because there was just thousands and thousands of people on there.
Yeah.
And which seems crazy now, because like, where does that exist anymore?
It doesn't. It's gone.
Yeah,
it's
like I missed that shit. It was so tight back in the day. And then you had Tristan Eaton's brother, Matt Eaton, who was fucking hilarious, and he handled the what was it? It was like the trash bin like threads. And so it was all this, like, all the things that were too crazy for everything else would end up there.
It was like the kitchen sink category.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and it's like anything goes in that department.
And you guys kind of fought like in that. Maybe I'm getting confused with Circus Postures, but you guys also had in the Kidrobot forums categories just for yourselves as well, right? So you had General Toy Talk, Dunnies, Kitchen Sink, and then did you have ones for yourselves?
Yeah, they would have some people had their own like full dedicated dorms. Other ones were threads within different things like that. And I don't think I was official enough to have my own like that, but there was a thread for sure.
It's just a shame all that history's lost, because there was a lot of stuff in there, a lot of pin threads, just a lot of information on there. I don't know if it's sitting on some server somewhere, but like you're talking about just having all of your Vinyl Addiction episodes, it's just kind of a time capsule. And that's kind of what, even if people still weren't utilizing the forums enough for Kidrobot to keep it around, just it being there for someone to go to and just spend a few hours doing a deep dive in, it would have been fun for people.
I hadn't even thought about it in a long time, but yeah, it was good times back in the day.
No, and I can attest to that, Gary. I was that person who found the forums. I was like, this looks kind of old, but what is this? And I was perusing around, and you just find these threads, and it's so intriguing seeing like the for sale threads and these toys that people were trying to swap or trade, and it's, you know, forever years old, but it's kind of cool because like you could be like, oh, that thing retailed for like $30. No way. So
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
it really is like a little time capsule, but it was fun to peruse. So it's a bummer when people kind of scrap that stuff and you kind of lose those bits of history that were out there on the interwebs.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. I mean, I imagine if you could find any of it. They have those, like, I think there's certain pages where you can go like back in time to like any website.
Yeah, way back.
So we could do that. I guess technically we could look up how it was back in the day.
So Gary, we're talking about this back in the day stuff, and I've heard names like Toy Cube and Adfuncture, and so what? And then I'm a little familiar with Kuso Vinyl, but these were all production companies.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because today I think a lot of people today, when we're talking about Toy Cube, I think a lot of people think that like they're just a new company. I don't know if they just kind of fell off for a little bit, but no, they were doing. Actually, Jesse, I think one of your first toys I remember you doing, it was in you remember kind of like a resin series called Kaniza?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Teresa, it was kind of like a resin, it was kind of a heavier piece, but it was a blind box series where it was basically an organic shape for the body, but then it had a cap, like a head that you can pull off. So the artist would design the entire figure, but it would also separate, so when you would remove the cap, there was also more designs underneath the cap. It was a cool little series, but that was the first time I remember. I think it's the first time I really noticed your work. I think you did like this hammerhead looking toy.
Yeah. It was the hammerhead was the base, and I think that was one of the earlier versions of like my Death Serpent character, and on like a piece there, because then the head would pop off, and then there was a skull underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a fun platform for sure. And yeah, Toy Cube, I mean, that was when he was up in New York. I believe they're out of Texas now. They're doing all types of craziness now. And at the time, we filmed there for Vinyl Addiction back in the day. And it was out in, was it Queens? I think it was. Queens or the Bronx? I'm trying to remember. I think it was Queens. Yeah, so he had like a dope like boba shop that was also a toy store. We were playing like Street Fighter in there. I think I was playing Kano. Like, all right, this is bro. We battling.
Yeah, I remember you and Kano did a show back in the day at NPH or My Plastic Heart. I remember that one.
Yeah. And I think that was the first time I had been in New York for any art stuff like that. And so we did the 2-man show at My Plastic Heart. That was good times. And he picked me up from the airport. Maybe he didn't have a license. I don't know. But we're driving around in the snow, and it was good times. That's my dude right there. What up, Kano?
Gary, I'm looking up these Kanizas. These aren't familiar, but these are fun. They need to bring these back.
Yeah, right? That was a fantastic series. That was, so you mentioned Keith Poon and actually Clem, he was a part of that with Big Shot Toy Works. Clem, if you're listening to this, I know we say that we're always going to have you on, and we never do. It's not an ongoing joke. We will make it happen. It's just hang in there. But yeah, the Kaniza series, I had a few of them. I still want the Mike Burnett one, the Bull one. I haven't tracked that one down, but I have the Julie West one. The only downside to those, Teresa, was that when the cap would attach to the body, sometimes they would stick together really well. That was almost hard to pull apart. And then because of that, sometimes you would get scratched paint on the body portion of the figure.
They could fix that now, though. These are so fun. And now I got to ask, because, of course, I went down a rabbit hole, and I found like a collage of toys by you, Jesse. One is your what was it? Kaniza? Kaniza. Okay. One is your Jaguar 8-inch dunny, and then next to it is this like robot. Okay, I'm gonna save it and put it in our chat because
Is it a super tall, skinny robot?
It's like got it's like tall, but then like the middle section of the body between the legs and the chest is like just like a little rod.
That might be the Canty robot I was talking about.
Okay, it should be in there. I want to know what that tall. So what is that?
So that's the Canty robot that I was saying. So that was my first production piece. Was that one?
I have never seen that before.
Yeah, no, that's back in the day. Yeah, like I said, they only made 100 of them, and so yeah, this is where'd you find this picture? Yeah, Francis Ramos.
Teresa can go down some rabbit holes.
This is what happens when you start. I just Googled Toy Cube Kiniza, and I'm like, okay, what's this? And you start perusing, and like this whole like the older side of designer toys. I mean, I've delved pretty far, but I'm still constantly surprised. And we always talk about George and Gary educating me more and, you know, mentioning some toy I've not heard of, because I'm always surprised. I think I know everything. And then suddenly here I'm looking at these things. I'm like, I haven't seen these. These are so fun. So it's like,
right on.
It'd be I really think this would be a series that could be resurrected today. The Kinizas, with this sort of idea of these different heads that can pop off. That could totally work today.
I think so.
It could.
Someone needs to make that happen.
Yeah.
Toy Cube, bring it back, bro.
That's an interesting question he proposed is what back in the day, maybe it wasn't successful back then, but could it be resurrected today? Because, you know, a lot of that stuff, early stuff was kind of had that urban flair. And then for a while there, it seemed like no one was doing that, that urban stuff anymore. But it seems like it's making a comeback.
No, absolutely.
And especially in the last year or so.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff coming for sure.
Is there anything, Jesse, you recall from the old days where you're like, man, that was great, and I'd love to see it come back?
Oh, man, that's
your stuff or not, just anything.
That's a tough one. Let's see. Trying to look around. So I always collected Tim Sue. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he had a toy called The Ape. And so it was this dope, different monkey characters he would sculpt with, they had like spray paint in their hands, stuff like that. And so he had done like a large series of those. And I always collected those. Oh, there's one. The Big Buddy, Marker 27.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like, because that came out, the first series was off the hook. And I know he made a second series, but I don't think it ever came out. So, yeah, the Big Buddy, bring that one back.
I think even Mad can bring back the Mad L.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the mini Mad L's. Produced the one I made, girl, back in the day. What's up?
Yeah, it was a great form.
Yeah.
Man, y'all are killing me. I can't visualize any of this. You said Tim Sue. What was the Tim Sue one?
Yeah, Tim Sue. It's The Ape, DAAPE. Like The Ape, but it's, more urban, so it's The Ape.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's funny because even like over time that one changed. So the original figure was called The Ape, but then over time they started calling it the Kong because he was like the King Kong one. And there was a Tower Records exclusive like back in the day.
Oh, I forgot about Tower Records doing toys.
Bro, yeah, that was the other source other than Kidrobot was Tower back then. Jesus.
This is a time trip.
Bro, yeah, we haven't talked about anything current at all. We're fully 10, 12 years ago this whole time. Which is cool too, I guess, right?
No, we should definitely get talking about some of the newer stuff. It's kind of nice to go back and talk about some of the older stuff, but we should
We're talking about vinyl when vinyl was vinyl, not when people say pop, which is really weird to me now because people are like, oh, what are these pops? And I'm like, what are you talking about? But now, I mean, I've come to kind of accept it. At first, I was really hesitant, but now it's kind of like, all right, there's a whole new crew of people that only understand this sort of scene as that. So I guess it's cool to allow the term,
No, this just shows how uninformed the convention attendees can be. Like, pop is not a universal term for all vinyl toys. Like, this is kind of like saying all die-cast cars are Hot Wheels or all tissue paper is Kleenex. It's not that. They're different. So we can't let the pop become like a blanket term for all toys. It's not. We have to distinguish that because a pop is it's a brand. It's a Funko. It is a pop culture collectible. And all other toys are something that aren't pop. They're different. So we should separate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this whole conversation is making me realize, Jesse, we haven't talked about you at all and your style.
I was just
And we're 35 minutes
I was
in.
just gonna yell at you for that.
I know. That's my bad.
Can I?
That's my bad.
Like, if you don't
Yeah.
know,
Well,
this is terrible. What are you doing?
what's the thing? Like we've been kind of talking through this, but I think we mentioned at the beginning that your artist handle is Urban Aztec,
Yeah.
and some people when they create a handle, like it doesn't have any relevance, right? It's just a thing. Like that's just what their artist name is or whatever they want to go by. But for you, when you say you're Urban Aztec, I mean, to me, that's like a dead-on descriptor of what your work actually is. It's a combination of urban influence and Aztec culture. So it's just what it is, right?
No, it's legit exactly what you're going to be looking at for the most part, I mean, I have other styles too, but that's the style people know, and that I normally work in. So,
Yeah.
Most of my stuff is reflective of that. And when I try to diversify, sometimes people are like, "Who did that?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me too." But all right, never mind.
You got your thing. Now,
yeah.
Now
which is hard enough to do, right?
Yeah. Well, for sure. And the whole Aztec aesthetic that you've got throughout a lot of your toys and even your murals and your other work. But is there a personal story there? Like, were you just attracted to that style and that history or what? Like, what caused you to want to go down that path and sort of adhere to that different style?
So for me, I think it just kind of started happening. So it's like, well, the Aztec culture all would come out, which is basically just a reflection of my own roots, right? Being of Quetzalcoatl, and then the Jaguar Knight, which is like the ancient, almost military of the Aztec culture, the Eagle Knights and the Jaguar Knights, and so each one is kind of almost like a history lesson in a way, but in a different style and a different voice, through my style. It's a different kind of like more, I guess, current stylized representation, but still keeping the culture alive through my work.
For sure. And I know I can definitely tell because when you go back through and look at whether it's old releases or newer, every single release, I feel like I find, like you said, a little bit of a history lesson. There's always a really detailed backstory behind all your pieces, what you're representing, what it's about, what it's meaning, versus just saying like, hey, here's this thing. So
yeah, and at the time, back in the day, there was nothing like this. So it's funny at times now when so I didn't used to set up at conventions a lot for just my own stuff. I would show up, do a signing, and then leave, for the most part. But so then over the last few years, I'll show up and set up all my stuff, and people are like, "Yo, this is crazy. Where did this come from? It's about time someone started doing this." I'm like, "Dude, I've been doing this for like 15 years." But I understand that, okay, maybe I've never set it up around here, so you guys haven't seen it. So it's always a trip, different reactions at the different spots. And I started digressing there, so yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, and I mean it's one of those things too where if you read up on it and you kind of dig into it, there's a history to it, but at face value, there's an appeal to this aesthetic in general, right? So like you can look at it and you can just like it for what it is, but then you can dig in and kind of learn that there's more behind it, which I think is kind of cool. When people we've talked a lot about backstories and whether or not backstories are necessary in toy releases and all that. And I think, to each their own, but I always think it's fun when there's kind of you can kind of merge the two together. It's not just an aesthetic that you've come up with. There's actually reasoning behind the different symbols and what you're doing.
Like, I want to say like each design, I would research, different, books and sculptures from, older times and trying to like be, accurate in basing like what it's coming from, so it's not like I'm just throwing some shit against the wall and like hoping it sticks or whatever. I want it to have, an accurate representation, even though it's kind of a different style. I want it to be based in reality.
Yeah, it's authentic, which is great.
Yeah.
And I know
for sure. Authentic, that was a way easier way of saying it.
Yeah, authentic. And it was when you first came into the scene, it was kind of that aesthetic, and then there was this bit of like a period almost where you disappeared a little. What was it like? I don't know, 6 years almost. It was a long period of time.
What were you doing between 2012 and 2018?
2012, 2018. Let's see. Well, so from 2011 to 2014, I was working at Zynga, video game company.
Yeah.
They do a lot of Facebook games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I was still doing toys at that time also. And then, let's see. And then from 2014 on, I've been freelance. So just kind of all my own stuff. And then I want to say I was doing toys the whole time. Just whether or not they came out was a different story.
Right, like you were still designing toys, but whether they came to fruition or not is a different story.
Yeah, I would pitch stuff. I think we have a deal. Next thing you know, it falls through, whatever. There's a lot of pitfalls you got to navigate in that game. And I think that was also, I don't want to say till 2018, but like from like 2014 to 16, maybe there was like, I think like kind of a dark age period, somewhere in there for the toy scene, a while where things just kind of died off. And I want to say it's around when the Pops got really popular, because the collectors that would have come to the vinyl scene, I felt like went that way instead, where, they didn't have to really learn, about, oh, well, who's this person or what is their style? Like, I don't understand this, like, I feel like the vinyl toy scene, there's a lot more thought that goes into it, where it's kind of like, oh, the Pop scene, oh, hey, there's Deadpool, cool, $10, done.
Right.
You ain't got to think about it. Whereas like back in the day, people would come into Kidrobot and be like, what is this, dude? Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. Who the hell is this artist? And you'd be tripping out, like looking up, like, who's this cat? Oh, it's some graffiti dude from Singapore. Like, what? Like, this is insane. I'm glad I found this, and like, it was a lot more personal, I want to say. But yeah, so I think, that was kind of a weird period around then, I think, where Funko really kind of took over.
Yeah.
Might be part of
I never believed that, because I felt like at that time, the collectors and the designer toy scene weren't necessarily buying up the Funko Pops or anything like that. It was a side thing that maybe you looked over and saw, but I don't think our collectors particularly took to it. I think that lull had more to do with it being an aftermath of the recession that we went through, more so than anything else. It would kind of weeded out a lot of things, like, and a lot of people put the blame on Funko for that, because that was the rise of Funko when it was the low for designer toys.
Yeah.
But today, a lot, which is strange, because a lot of the Funko Pop collectors from back then are now getting into designer toys. So, the Pops were the gateway for a lot of, new collectors today.
No, that's true. And the thing is, it hasn't happened before. So now this is the first time that we're seeing that, where, and that's what, 2014 actually was the year when I was in New York Comic Con and Toy Tokyo was all Funko. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? This used to be, the gatekeeper of cause and everything else. Like, this is significant. Something has changed, and that's when I knew. And then, so now we're kind of coming around the other side of that, where I mean, Funko's a huge thing still. But like you said, we are starting to see where that is almost gatewaying back to vinyl, where people are like, yo, what was that vinyl stuff? Like, what's going on? And when did this come out? People are tripping out on older pieces again. And, as I said, but yeah, it hadn't happened yet, because what was it before there was, I want to say, like the Vinylmation was like the only one that really stuck, that could do the platform toy and have it work, was Disney.
Yep. And then for a little bit there was the Mighty Mugs too.
Yeah. And then Funko was the other side now. But so now I think people are really interested in the vinyl scene again. There's definitely a resurgence happening now.
Yeah. And what's kind of cool about the gap in a way is that there's the people who were early on in the scene who knew your work, but then there's people like me and people obviously who have come after me who may not be familiar with you. So they're seeing your stuff for the first time. So it's almost like you're a new artist again in some ways. Right. The new stuff you're doing.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, how it's weird. A lot of these guys have been around for 15 plus years. It's, they kind of might have come and go, but they usually do make a resurgence, and then new people discover them. But there's also a lot of artists that kind of did their thing in the designer toys and got out. A few of them. Well, Pete Fowler was one. He kind of got out for several years, but he's back, which is great. But there's a few others that I would love to see make a comeback, and a few of those would be like Tim Biscup would be one for sure. Jay Neth, he did that one Neth Creature series. Everyone seemed to love what he was doing, but he just did that one series and got out. Another one for me would be Van Beater, who did Crappy Cat and Jamungo type stuff. All of those guys, I think today, if they made a comeback, a lot of new collectors would discover their work.
For sure. Like when you just mentioned Tim Biscup, reminded me. With this sort of thing, you have to have a toy every year or people forget you. Like, I remember, like, Gary Baseman, Tim Biscup, like, when I came into the scene, they were dropping toys. Everyone's like, oh, shit, this is the best shit ever. And then, like, a year or two goes by, they don't do anything. They drop something new. People are like, who's this guy?
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? Who's this guy? That's fucking Tim Biscup, you know? And they're like, oh, I've never heard of him. Like, oh shit, all right. So that's what you kind of learn. Like, you have to continually put stuff out, or people forget you. You know,
it's a good point. I mean, you got to stay top of mind, especially with just the way things are nowadays. With the internet and Instagram and all this crap. There's so much, and we've even talked about that, like being able to keep tabs on everything that's out there and the market overseas and all that. It's nuts. And so if you're not constantly like throwing stuff up in the feed to say, hey, I'm still here, I'm still doing stuff, you could definitely get thrown to the wayside. You just, people go in the back of your brain and you don't even think about it.
No, for sure. It's crazy like that. Like, just trying to it's almost like graffiti, where it's like you just got to put your name up over and over, like so people don't forget,
well,
you got to
and
stay
there's
up.
I mean, there's times where all of a sudden an artist that hasn't been around a while comes back, and I just have like this oh shit moment. I'm like, oh my god, like, yeah, you're awesome. I completely forgot. Like, I hadn't seen stuff for a couple of years, but like, yay, glad you're back. Do stuff. So it's about.
We should do like a Where Are They Now episode. Find a few people that we haven't seen from in a few years and find out what they're up to. That'd be interesting. I'm sure we can put together a pretty good list.
Well, even like you mentioned the Dragatomi people, and there's
Dragatomi. Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton. I mean, that's the thing too. When they're not top of mind, we're sitting here and it's like, who are all the people that have disappeared? And you almost kind of forget. And there's tons. There's the amount of people you could probably come up with, both whether it's a company or a person, or I don't know. I feel like we could make a giant list, but you all would be much better at that than me, because I'm still new. I'm a newbie compared to you all.
But it's crazy how many people have hopped in and hopped out over the years. That like like say even Quicks, like when he jumped in, the first thing I saw from him was the Shogun Warrior of the Stormtrooper. I don't know if you guys remember that piece, but it was a resin custom, and I was like, yo, what is this right here? And actually, there's supposed to be a tech collab with me and Quicks coming up pretty soon here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Me and Quick's been trying to collab for a long time, and there's been one or two done. There's one that's actually supposed to happen, so hopefully soon.
Dude, that piece is going to be that's going to be fire. That's a collaboration that makes sense. He's working with Kidrobot as well as of recently. And speaking of which, that 6 years that we mentioned, I think that's why we mentioned it was a 6-year hiatus, because it was basically just on your time with Kidrobot. It seems like since 2007 you were working with them every single year up until 2012, and then you had this break between 2012 and 2018, and that's probably just because they were going through their own thing. They moved to Colorado. They're going through some management changes and art director changes and whatnot. But so your last series with them might have been 2012, but then you had another release back with them, which was I don't want to pronounce this name, damn it, the 8-inch Tlalok.
I'll take it, bro. That was good. just try to say the TL like at the same time, and then go from there. the Tlalok, yeah.
Oh man, we had this thing going on last week, Jesse. We were talking about the word gaijin, right? And apparently people were letting us know this is not a great word to say. It's really just a term for foreigner. But apparently in some sectors, some people think that's kind of a derogatory word. It has a negative connotation in some sort of way. It's almost like you're a stupid idiot foreigner, not just a normal foreigner. But we couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. And so Teresa, going back and forth, she was recording her trying to say gaijin over and over and over. And I guess you finally became a master of it, but it took you a few shots.
Yeah, it's not just gaijin, it's gaijin.
Gaijin. But we won't be using that word because it is derogatory, apparently. So.
Yeah, but what is it? Talk? Oh, God.
It's Tlalok.
There's no W in there.
Twalok.
Nah.
All right. The L is a W in this case.
So you had that 6-year period. How was it, getting back? Was it Kozik that got you back into the Kidrobot fold and maybe unlock some toys that you already had previously designed?
Let's see. So we had, so I mean, Kidrobot itself went through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stores closing. Dragatomi used to be around. Outland. A lot of people that had brick and mortar stores, it became really hard to get by. and everything went either online or people shifted their focus. And then so yeah, with Kidrobot, I want to say every time we had a new art director, it was like you were starting over.
Yeah.
For the most part, and yeah, finally, was it last year they hit me up? I know my boy Omar from I Am Retro was hitting them a lot too to do some stuff with me. What's up, dog? And you might have noticed he had an exclusive of the Tlaloc, the green super rare.
Mm-hmm.
And but so he was pushing a lot, and then yeah, we finally got the Tlaloc got put back on the slate. That one was cut, I think, back in 2014. It was supposed to happen back in the day, and then the 5-inch Dunnies with Foot Locker,
which was called Pop by Foot Locker. How strange is that?
Yeah, Pop by Foot Locker. There you go. And and so that whole thing was a trip too, because it was supposed to be for like a Hispanic Heritage Month thing, and then they didn't really promote it as that. It just kind of appeared like, all right, here's these toys, bam, and so people were kind of like, wait, where did this come from? And but that was a trip, like just marketing wise.
Were all three of those, the 8-inch Tlaloc and then the 2 5-inch with Foot Locker, were all those old designs that had been cut or set aside, or were the Foot Locker ones new?
So the Tlaloc was an older one that had already been done, and then so that just was like, hey, we have a slot, can we put it in here? Yep, done, let's go. And then the 5 inches were both designs I did like at the beginning of the year, and then they came out that year.
Okay, cool. I remember us talking about those 5-inch Dunnies actually on a Marsham episode when we first saw the news, because one, it was weird for me at least seeing Foot Locker selling toys, and
right.
And I get it, right? Like shoes and the collector side of that is kind of delves into the urban toy things. There's a bit of a crossover, but what was really intriguing, I think, for us is seeing the amount of detail, especially in the Jaguar design, the amount of colors and layers and detail, and how that must have been pad printed. We remember looking at it thinking like, wow, like that's the fact that they were able to get all that in there was really, really cool.
Yeah.
No, it was insane. I want to say there was 16 colors in that or something like that.
Did you get any pushback on that? Did you have to fight for it, or was it just a green light from the get-go?
Not really. I might have knocked off a couple colors, but overall they were just like, cool, yeah, do it.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, like the printing is super precise. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And at that 5-inch scale was weird to look at too, having gone from 3-inch and 8-inch to that in between 5. I'm like, whoa, this is weird. Like,
that's right.
I'm not used to seeing them at this scale,
Yeah.
Or a 20,
now,
I guess, has always been around.
Was working on those newer ones, and like it seemed like you had more freedom, and obviously it's a different size, but do you feel like compared to like doing the Dunnies you did back early on with Kidrobot compared to these, do you feel like you were a lot more limited before and they kind of grown in the types of things they could do in the design?
I definitely think that there was a lot less pushback. So yeah, you really could do more. I think I was limited on accessories, but print wise, they could do anything, for the most part. And I think I remember seeing people doing like, gradient fades even. We're like, yo, what are you can do that? Like, that's crazy. Like who the hell allows gradients now? Like what? And
yeah, well, and then your 8-inch got a crap ton of sculpting.
Right. Yeah, no, that was insane. Like, so everything they added to that, and it came out perfect. And that's the other thing too that's changed. So in the beginning, yeah, right. Sorry. So in the early days of the vinyl scene, everything was hand sculpted. Whereas now all the designs are being done in 3D and then printed and sculpted from there.
Yeah, so the evolution of the Dunny has changed a lot because of 3D printing. I would assume it's the 3D printing because early on, most of the Dunny platform just used it as the platform was the form, and now you're getting new head sculpt, new body sculpts. Sometimes the things don't even look like Dunnies anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a trip. Like, because I remember when they started adding, like back in the days, you could get like maybe one accessory if you're lucky. And then it started becoming like, oh, yeah, you get like something on the head, another thing they're holding, and it just kept getting crazier and crazier. But yeah, and then they would try to limit colors at the beginning a lot too. Whereas then now, yeah, obviously they're just kind of like, yeah, dude, let it run. That shit'll be tight.
Yeah, 16 with a UV reactant. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
that's been fun too. Yeah, doing a lot of blacklight stuff these days.
Yeah, well, and glows and all that. And I mean, I just, in a way, it's like, I kind of, if you were to think about the design you made and what it would be like off paper, in a way, the fact that it was delayed a bit may have been for the better because they had more capabilities and could make it what you envisioned. Because you're
sure.
right. Back in the day, they weren't really doing a whole lot of sculpting. Most of the time, it was just the base dunny shape, and then here they are, and they came out with this badass looking dunny for you. It was.
I'm going to title this episode "Back in the Day."
For real, I think I've said it like 30 times now.
You know how old you all sound. Like, there's me just sitting here, and you're all like, well, it sounds like my grandpa. Well, back in the day, we walked to school 8 miles in a snowstorm.
We're not that bad. Come on now.
Back in my day, you get a car's toy for $1.
Back in my day, I used to shop at stores like Red Hot Robot, Rivet, and Dragatomi. But anyways, we should probably mention our store sponsors, actually. So let's take a brief break and mention some of our sponsors. So for all your designer toy needs, wants, and desires, you can visit 3 great stores. First off is Strange Cat Toys. Go to strangecattoys.com, load up that cart, and be sure to use our promo code Marsham at checkout, and you'll receive 10% off that entire order. If you happen to be in the New York City area, say for New York Comic-Con next month, you should check out My Plastic Heart. Or you can visit them online at myplasticheart.com. If you live in the States and spend $75 or more, be sure to use our promo code TOYFAM at checkout and you'll receive free shipping on that order. Or if you're on the West Coast and happen to be in the Burbank adjacent area, you can visit 3D Retro, or you can visit 3dretro.com online. And to stay on top of all the latest and greatest in designer toy news, be sure to like and follow SpankyStokes.com and thetoychronicle.com. And if you guys haven't seen the newly revamped The Toy Chronicle website, be sure to check it out. You can now be a member. You get lots of exclusive and perks by being a member there. You can now post content to the website. You can join the forums and a bunch of other cool stuff. So be sure to check it out. Getting back and talking about those 5-inch dunnies, like that was another release that won. That one was the Foot Locker in Times Square. Humongous banners. Like you've had some really amazing release and signing parties.
Yeah, that was wild, man. Again, I had no idea that sign was even there until I got there. I'm like, oh man, I need a shot of this. It was kind of like back in the day, they had I said it again. Now I need a back in the day counter. Ding, So way back in the day, at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, there was a Kidrobot pop-up.
I remember that.
And so they had like Kozik did a piece there. Alex Pardee painted a wall in there. I think Terry McPherson, Junko Mizuno. And so I did like a live painting there. They asked me for some graphic or whatever, and I sent them, I didn't know what it was for. I sent them like the Jaguar Warrior head. And that ended up being on the marquee of the Cosmopolitan. And I was like, what?
I remember seeing a photo of that, yeah.
But again, it was like I had no clue. And then so as I was in there painting, some people came in and were like, yo, we saw you on the sign. I didn't know you were here, so we came in to check it out.
Damn.
And I'm like, wait, there's a sign? Yeah, so fully ran outside, got a picture of it afterwards.
That's awesome.
And it's a trip, man. Like, see, a lot of times you never really know what's gonna happen in this whole art thing, across whatever medium you're doing. Did a project with Gears of War a while back, and for Gears of War 4, and that one just kept kind of like we did these Rockstar cans that ended up getting distributed. Like I think they made 2 million of each can.
This is the energy drink, Rockstar.
Yeah, Rockstar energy drink. And so then it had the artwork that we did for Rockstar on it, and then if you pop the top, you got a code for our design on the guns in the game.
Cool.
But it was fully like something we didn't know was going to happen at the time, and then it did. We're like, oh shit, it's DLC now. That's what's up, And that was me and Hydro 74 had 2 of them, and God Machine. But yeah, no, that was super sick. And so what was I saying? That was just an example of things that you didn't expect happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It seems like a lot of doors has opened just from designer toys. I mean, I know you were also very popular from mural work and everything, but do you feel like designer toys have opened up other avenues of work for you?
For sure. I mean, I think the whole, just the idea of like putting your style on something else is something that a lot of the people from the vinyl scene, I think, have adapted to everything, really. It's kind of like, what would your style be like on, this whatever robot piece, or how would you do like a mural over here, or how I think everybody's kind of like doing their interpretation of like, how do you see yourself on this, like baseball or whatever, and like, I feel like the way the designer toy thing was, you get used to people's style on different stuff. And then it's like, where can you have that crossover to different places,
Right.
I guess, yeah, crossover was the word I was looking for the whole time and just kept babbling until it came out.
Well, but speaking of crossovers, I mean, you've now delved into recently the world of Marvel. Marvel?
Yeah.
Is Marvel the right property?
No, DC, Iron Man and Wolverine. That's DC, Teresa.
That's Image Comics.
But so fix that. So speaking of crossovers,
No, we're
you're now
messing with you. No,
into...
that's more. That is, we're messing with you. That's Marvel.
Oh my God, I can't remember.
You're an easy target.
I know, because I don't know anything. But no, I mean, you're doing now that you've gotten pulled under Unruly, they're letting you do the things that we've been able to see come out of them with all the different licenses and stuff has been nuts. And those busts that you did for Iron Man and Wolverine are crazy.
No, right on. Yeah, that's just, I mean, it's a trip, man. Like that whole thing. I mean, as like a comic nerd growing up, like it's like fully life goal event to have happen. It's insane.
Now, licenses aren't generally, they can be pretty stingy, and I've heard that Marvel is a pretty tricky one. So the fact that they allowed you to do what you do and completely re-envision and translate their popular characters into the bust that you did, that's amazing. I mean, that's saying a lot to you and your work.
It's crazy, man. Like, and there was relatively no pushback on those
That's
as well.
Amazing.
I was just like, hey, here's my design. And they're like, cool, done. Like the only thing that they changed on the Wolverine, the original design, had a cross on the head, which was an homage to Rey Mysterio.
Okay.
Or Rey Mysterio Jr. So they said, we can't have just like a big cross on the Marvel piece. I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine, And so I switched it up and put the Naviolin symbol of movement up on the head that was originally on the chin, and that was the only real change that they made me do.
So how did that work? Did Unruly reach out to you and just say, hey, we want to pull you in and get you on some stuff?
No, it was just good timing, really. So the Iron Man toy was originally supposed to be with Flab Slab, and then that fell through for whatever reason back in the day. Again, back in the day, sorry. Ding. I'll just start dinging it too. And then, and I believe I pitched them both to Kidrobot also before that, but they were you didn't want to deal with the Marvel license. And so then I sent them to my friend Dave Igo, who works over at Sideshow Collectibles, and was like, hey, bro, do you guys think, anyone would be interested in this over there? And he said, yeah, let me see what's up, and at this time, I didn't know about Unruly or anything like that either. And he's like, hey, we're actually starting like a vinyl program over here, and these would be sick, like to work on. And so it's like really dope that you reached out, and yeah, dude, they'd love to work with you. And so just kind of from there that, he sent an email with some of my designs, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And by the way, do you want to bring any other of your older designs back? And so that's when we started doing the Unruly variant for the McLawn toy. That's
right. Yeah, because was it Kuso did the first one?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we had done in 2010, I think we dropped the McLawn with Kuso. And so I'd done like a ton of variations. And again, that one, there was no 3D sculpt of either, so they had to redo it.
That's crazy.
I think that was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, that's just to me like a lesson, like for people out there. Like if you, there's no harm in you being the one to reach out and saying, hey, you dig this? Want to do this? Want to make this? The fact that you were the one who kind of just said, hey, you want this? And they're like, yeah, actually we do. It's really cool.
No, it's, I mean, and like you said, I mean, on the real, like, I had shown it to a few people and they all had kind of backed down. I was like, dang, well, I guess it's not going to happen. Well, I've never asked my other buddy about this stuff. Maybe I'll see what they think. And then it just happened to land. And I was like, oh, shit, for real? Dope.
Yeah.
I had no idea that could happen, but I was just hoping maybe,
Well, and the fact that they give you so much creative freedom is...
Yeah.
It just makes them so much better because it's not like you're fighting with a license. And we've heard stories like that where there's just butting heads between the artist vision and the license and all these rules and restriction. At the end of the day, what comes out isn't really what you want. So the fact that it's what you envisioned essentially, minus a minor tweak, is so cool.
Well, and I think that was the key too, is to already have it be done. It's like, all right, here it is. Here's the turnaround. This is exactly what it is. What do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, it's tight. Let's do it. And I think if I'd have just like pitched an idea, who knows what would have happened. But having the design already done kind of like sealed the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. They were like, hey, yeah, our CEO like loves your Darth Vader custom you did, man. Do you still have that? And I was like, nah, but I'll paint another one. If he wants it, man, let's make it happen. Because that was back in the Vader project.
That's right, the old helmet, the custom
DKE
helmets.
toys.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Wait, what are y'all talking about? Custom helmets?
So DKE had a custom Darth Vader helmet exhibit that traveled around, and then I saw it in San Diego Comic-Con, like 2007.
Nah, I want to say it was like 2009-ish. Something.
No,
like
no,
that.
it can't be that late.
Well, I was a later edition.
Oh, you were a later edition. Okay.
I wasn't in the first one.
Okay, gotcha.
I was in the expansion pack.
Yeah, so all these artistries that just were given a Darth Vader helmet, like a real Darth Vader helmet, and they were customized them.
No, it was fully intimidating too. Like, I'm like, this is the real thing. I don't even want to mess with it. Like, I just want to look at it.
Yeah, those were like the real deal, authentic movie replicas. These were not small 5-inch things.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 22 inches tall, something like that. Like super mega helmet, and it's like thick resin. Like just even like starting to approach a design for it was like super intimidating, because I want to say like just the helmet cost like $1,000 for the helmet.
Oh shit!
And you're like, man, I don't want to mess this thing up.
Yeah, dude, I would have been KO'd when I saw that invitation, but you just took it on like a champ and knocked that shit out.
I was in the show when it went to Japan, and then also to George Lucas, and then they had a final show in LA, and then also at the Andy Warhol Museum before they then auctioned them off. And then they made a book of it also.
Do you know where yours ended up?
I don't. They sold it at the auction. I don't know who has it. I wish I knew who had it.
Oh man, yeah, I know what you mean though, because I've had some customers where I don't know where they ended up, but every once in a while you'll see one on Instagram. Someone's taking a photo of their collection. You're like, that's who has it. But on the flip side of that, sometimes you see when your stuff changes hands too.
Yeah, well, it's like I painted a 4-foot dunny for I think Aaron Brothers back in 2011, and so then it popped up on eBay a couple years back, and the dude was trying to sell it for like $30,000. I was like, whoa.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Well, I hope somebody buys it for that. You just made the price go up, man. So now I can charge 10 and not even be worried about it. Those dunnies are 25 now, bro. But
This could not have been all smooth sailing for you, though, Jesse. I mean, your work is pretty intricate. It's got some complexity to it. So I imagine not every company could. You must have had some pushback at some point. So how many pieces do you think you've designed over the last 12 years or so? Do you think probably never ended up seeing the light of day in production?
Probably a third.
Okay.
Something like that.
Oh, wow.
Do you get paid out for majority of those? A lot of people are always wondering when you're a part of a series.
No, because most of the time, I mean, not necessarily the way it is now, but back in the day, I want to say like most of the time you were just kind of like you were putting it out there trying to get it made, and then you didn't get anything until it came out.
That's right. Yeah.
So you might be waiting a year, you might be waiting 2 years. You never know. It might never happen. Mm-hmm. In most contracts, it's kind of like, this isn't a promise it will happen, but if it does, this is, what you get, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that I would pitch or do designs for. A lot of, the platform toy stuff, you do a design for someone, it may or may not happen. And I want to say, yeah, I mean, for everything that has happened, definitely you've taken a few losses along the way every time, So for every, like high moment on the roller coaster, I feel like you get kicked in the teeth 2 or 3 times,
Right. Are you still collecting today?
It's super rare, but yes. Just because I have so much stuff, like there's nowhere to put anything.
Yeah, you gotta get a storage unit like everybody else.
Yeah.
Do you recall maybe some of the last pieces you bought?
Let me see. Some of the last stuff. I got a couple things from Quicks recently. I got the Skeletor from Mondo.
Okay.
What else we got here? But yeah, it's been a minute though. But I think those are the last acquisitions I remember getting.
Is most of what you have on display back in the day toys? Is
Yeah.
it?
Ding. Yeah, so probably half of it. So I have like 3 cases. Well, like over time too, like as you make more stuff, those take over the case and you kick out your older collection. So I had 3 like D12 cases that were all just black monotone vinyl that I collected because that was kind of my favorite colorway would be things that were, black, white, silver. Um, and so like I called it the blackout case or whatever. So, but I had like 3 cases of different toys like that. And then now, like I want to say like the first row across the whole thing is just mine. And so, but there's other ones that have been displaced that are, like in a closet or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff on display at my house for sure though.
Back to what Gary was asking about, stuff not seeing the light of day. For the stuff that did eventually get produced, because of a lot of your stuff being complex, especially for the things that were made years ago, was there a lot of sacrifices where like you'd come present an idea and they'd say, well, look, we can do this, but we can't do everything? And do you feel like it's gotten better over time?
So yeah, it's tough too because I'm like a super perfectionist about everything. And so like every little detail, like I'll always be like, yo, we need to fix this. Can we fix that? Whatever. Until they cut me off, I'm going to keep asking for changes, because I'm just trying to get it as close to like perfect as we can. And, but yeah, so I always had a joke too. Like they hated me at the factories in China because I had so many paint ops on all my stuff. I'm like, oh, dude, they hate me in China, bro. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. This, that dude with his 300 paint applications again. Can only hire our best people because of this guy. But and yeah, so a lot of times at the beginning, I feel like they did push back a lot more. And then whereas now it seems like for the most part, everyone's just kind of like, yeah, do your thing. Yeah, we got it. No problem. Especially working with like Unruly and Sideshow now. I mean, it's their stuff's insane. Like it's all the best, sculptors, painters, everything. And everyone there is like, top of their game in each field. Like this is the dopest person that sews, clothing for the toy. This is the dopest photographer. This is the dopest everything. Like I feel like anyone you talk to is like, oh shit, you work here too? Yeah, that makes sense. Like it's crazy. Like everyone's super talented. But yeah, so I feel like, with all that stuff, like I want to say whatever I'm doing is really not even that complex compared to what they do with their statues, or their like fully posable, 100 different hands and heads, versions of their toys that they do. Mine are probably simple in comparison, So, and then, I think the capabilities that say like Kidrobot also, they've definitely gone through the roof compared to where it used to be. And I assume that's just from working with different factories at this point too.
Yeah, and technologies and stuff. I mean,
things have definitely changed. Yeah, because now you can see like a printed output of a design where before you would just have to make one.
I mean, it is crazy. So where I work, we can see 3D renders. You can come into work in the morning and say, hey, we saw this. We need to, can you sculpt this up? And within probably about 4 hours, you're seeing the thing fully rendered 3D, send it down to the printer. It's just crazy the fast turnaround and how much innovation and technology has changed our field. It's nuts.
Wait, so where do you work, Gary?
So, I'm a creative director at Funko.
Really?
Yep.
Well, shit. For the heads up on that one, bro.
Well, it's my bad. It's funny because you were talking earlier and I didn't want to stop and ruin the whole conversation. But yeah, I just love designer toys. I really love all toys of all kinds. So I didn't feel the need to really stop and say where I worked and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy that you're at Funko now. What? Like, okay. Wait, so what office are you at?
So I work out of the headquarters in Everett, Washington.
Okay, so you are up there. All right.
Yep.
Do you know my boy Ben Butcher?
Oh yeah, I know Butcher. Yeah, I see him on a pretty regular basis, almost daily.
They tell him I said what's up, and when are we doing the Urban Aztec Funkos?
I'm not going to rule that out.
Wait, so talking about the whole Funko Buster Dinosaur and all that, the idea of a crossover of you getting Urban Aztec designs in pop form, you'd be for that?
I'm down with it, yeah. My protest is over. It's okay. I've accepted it. I said I accepted the pop term. I'm okay with it now.
Because I know Quicks has done, like, we've seen Quicks pop customs. I know Quicks would be like, yeah, heck
Yeah,
yeah.
he's doing terrible, right?
He's not at all turning into the next cause.
That's my dude, man. I love that guy.
But yeah, it's intriguing to the idea. Like, we've seen a few of them, but it would be interesting to start seeing people who have kind of rooted in our scene, their stuff being made in pop form. So it's cool for you to say, yeah, like, bring it on, cross over those worlds.
I'm saying, like, I'm a freelance artist. I'm not against anything. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm a mercenary.
You said you were a mercenary, that you'll do anything. So I know you've done toys, but you've done non-toys things. And I've seen like stuff you've done with sports teams. And I don't know, someone even said that with the Oakland A's, you got to throw out the first pitch or something?
Yeah, last year.
Did you pull a Baba Booey?
Yeah. So that was kind of my mindset too, though. But I was like, you know, if you mess up, then, you know, at least it'll go more. You know, like it might go viral if you do really bad at this.
Do really bad.
That's what I told myself. So it'll be good and no one will care, or it'll be bad and everyone will care.
For the listeners, Baba Booey is the producer of the Howard Stern Show, and he did a first pitch. And you can YouTube search this. Just search Baba Booey first pitch, and it was one of the probably top 5 most horrific first pitches. Like,
yeah, it was an absolute fail. Like, it's like the 50 Cent one where you just
that's just as bad. Yes,
completely the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so last year I did the shirt for the Native American Heritage Night for the Oakland A's, and so as part of that, I got to throw out the first pitch, and so that whole thing was a trip, man. Like, when I went out there, I didn't know can you throw from the mound or are you supposed to throw from in front? Because it looks like people normally throw it from the front. So when I got there, I asked, I said, hey, bro, can I throw it from the mound? They're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're like, yeah, most people just don't want to throw it that far. Oh, I got you. Okay. So I get up there and I threw a knuckleball, which I don't know.
Show off.
Anyone that doesn't know baseball, it's when you put 2 to 3 knuckles up against the ball and you actually push it instead of snap it. So then it does it dances and breaks the whole way there instead of being straight. But so when I started gripping it, the catcher, who's Mike Aldretti, who I knew from when I was a kid, he was a baseball player and we look up to him and everything, so that whole thing was weird too. And then so I started gripping the knuckle and he's like, oh shit, you're throwing a knuckleball? I said, yeah, bro. And he's, oh, damn it. And he jumps up because he doesn't know, where's it going to go? You have no idea.
Right.
And so I threw it and it floated around and, broke 3-4 feet left. And so he scooped it up, pretty quick. And I don't know, man. It's weird. It was so scary. And yet at the same time, you're like, well, what you going to do? Just, you get up there and you're like, oh, shit, I don't want to mess this up, but whatever,
Dude, I would choke. I would probably throw it straight into the ground like so many other people do.
You would definitely not have stood on the mound, Gary.
No, I would have done the old lady where I was maybe 15 feet from the plate.
Yeah. Well, and dude, right before that, there was a nun who did this baller curveball.
Oh, damn.
No way.
She snapped it off her bicep and then threw a curveball. And it was 2 days before I was throwing out the first pitch. I'm like, well, I guess I can't throw a curveball now.
I feel like that one's planted just for the crowd.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that was wild. And then actually the year before that, I did a jersey with the San Jose Sharks for their Hispanic Heritage Night. And that one I got to drop the puck on the ice and they gave a jersey to everyone that came to the game. It was nuts.
That's awesome. It seems like you're having the time of your life. And I look at your social media feed, it just seems like you're just landing all these great clients, having a great time. Everything just seems to be working out for you. I'm happy for you because you spent a long time in designer toy scene. And in fact, did you still talk with a lot of people in the designer toy game? You've been for a long time. Some of the ones that kind of left, like Dragon Tomy, do you still see them at all?
I fully saw them this last weekend. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. So now, anytime I go to Sacramento, I'm like, hey, where are you guys at? Because they're doing the Wandering Boba truck.
That's right.
And now they have the Lumpia truck also. And so we went by to they were serving at a football game, so we stopped by to go say what up to them and pick up some Lumpia because their stuff is the best. So yep, shouts out to them. What up, Dragon Tomy fam, Joanna Ray. Yeah, but yeah, no, like as far as being like I feel like I talk to the all the people from the toy scene. That's still my homies like all the time. Like these are the other artists that you still work with in different mediums and across whatever. Like I feel like everyone's still really active, and they're the people that are still kind of our closest friends.
You have a favorite moment that you can think of from all the 15 years of designer toys?
I don't know.
That jet setting one probably sounds pretty up there.
No, that was good times for sure. I want to say just like Comic-Con in general, man, is my favorite time.
Yeah.
Like every time, like Comic-Con is so much fun. Like it's that and Designer Con now too, man. Like it's one of the only other times where it's like everyone is here. You're like, yo, there's literally 1,000 people I want to talk to right now.
Yeah, it's like a huge reunion for collectors and the designers and companies, and everyone's just all in the same place. And it's almost, sometimes it's overwhelming because even though it's a 3-day event, you still don't see everybody you want to, and you go home and you get a text from someone. He's like, hey, dude, why didn't you stop by and say hello? And you're like, oh, shit. You're right.
Yeah.
Like it's not intentional. It's just, there's just so much going on.
No, exactly. And it's, most people are busy too, which is great, which is what you want, but yeah, there's literally like, I know like everyone there, it seems, for the most part, or at least, 3/4 of the people there are friends, and you want to hang out and chop it up, see what they've been doing. And, like, I feel like all the conventions are always like, you get so recharged, like seeing what people are doing and everything, like, and just getting to hang out for a minute and be like, yo, dude, what you been working on? Like, oh, that stuff's crazy. Everyone's kind of dropping their new stuff and, what you've been doing all year. Like, yo, I need to step my game up,
It does make you sort of check yourself when you see everything that's going on with everybody else.
What's possible? Like, oh, this cat's, really pushing the limits over here, like maybe I'm not pushing myself hard enough, or whatever it is. I feel like you always leave like recharged to come up with something more crazy every year.
Yeah. Are we going to see you at Designer Con this year?
For sure, I'll be there. I don't know my booth number yet, or I'd have dropped it, but yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, cool. All right.
And I'll be at MondoCon next week.
Is that in Texas?
Yeah, in Texas.
Okay.
So that's gonna be a trip. I've never been to their convention. So
you did you did like a set of mugs for them, right?
Yeah, so I have a tiki mug.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, it's been a trip working on that, man. I'm looking forward to those finally dropping. I think Designer Con will be the first variant we'll be dropping there.
Okay, cool. So they haven't dropped yet. Are they going to drop at MondoCon, or are we? Because you mentioned variant.
Yeah, so I think they'll first become available at Designer Con. I don't think they'll be available at Mondo.
Okay.
They'll just have them on display, but so they'll be finally available for purchase.
You've worked with everybody, man.
Yeah, I'm trying, bro. I'm trying. At least all the cool people,
Yeah.
Any sneaky toy stuff coming up? You want to leak on here?
I had notes over there. Let me see here. The like the Wolverine and Iron Man. So that did really well in the pre-orders and everything. So they don't officially come out, I believe, till the first quarter of next year. And but so the kind of the success of it so far has led to I'm doing other characters within that line.
Oh, sweet!
Yeah, looking forward to where that goes.
Yeah.
So I'm working on some concepts for that, and I have some other stuff in the works with Mondo, possibly a toy also.
Oh, that's nice.
Let's see where that goes. And what else we got going on? Talking about doing a hot sauce right now.
What?
Yeah.
A hot sauce?
Yeah, which should be pretty fun. A limited run. We'll see how that goes. There's a few other things that are still, in talking stages. So we'll see where it all pans out to.
Well, since we're going back in the day, Jesse, one of the things that we used to do when we would wrap up an episode, we've been doing this for, we're come 3.5 years now. We used to do a round of lightning questions at the end of an episode. You want to do
awesome.
Want to do some quick lightning questions?
I'm down. Let's go.
What was your favorite childhood toy?
Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe.
Nice. Favorite Patrick Swayze movie? That's my curveball.
Okay, so I was gonna say Roadhouse, but Outsiders.
Yes, definitely.
I was like, wait, it doesn't have to be just him. Hold on, Outsiders.
If your house was on fire and you had to save 3 pieces from your collection, what would you save?
Oh man, that's terrible. Damn it. That's tough, man. Let me walk over and look real quick. This is not a lightning round anymore. I'm grabbing the Sam Flores Tiger Baby.
Okay.
The Cause Puss Head Companion. And one more. I'm grabbing the Scene spray can.
Okay.
Which most people don't know about either from back in the day.
Back in the day. Ding.
Spray cans were a thing.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they're still a thing, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like toy-themed spray cans.
Yo, look up Scene's toy. That thing's insane. The original one. Much respect to the Bronx Bomber. I believe Toy Tokyo produced it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, check it out. You'll dig it, man. It's dope. A lot of people don't know about it.
Okay. Oh, you know what? We're supposed to give a shout out to Iz on this episode. I guess they're a huge collector of yours.
Oh, right on.
The Israel.
Is my dog.
George wanted to give it, so George said, "Give a shout out from me to Iz."
Yo, big shout out to my man Iz. What up, brother? Appreciate you, dog.
All right, Jesse, last lightning question. We'll make this an easy one. You worked with a lot of different licenses. Is there one in particular that you haven't worked with that you would absolutely love to reinterpret in your style?
Oh, man. Any license at all?
Yeah, what license would you want to develop and put your own personal spin on?
Yeah, dream license.
I want to do Spawn.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, that's one.
Huh.
I want to do Megatron.
Okay.
Ooh,
I think would be kind of insane. Let's see what else we want. Darth Vader, dude. Time out. Darth Vader all day.
Okay, nice. Well, Jesse, we're pretty much up against the time, so I just want to say thanks so much for coming on and joining Teresa and myself, and we had a great time talking with you.
Hey, awesome hanging out with you guys, man.
Yeah.
Always fun talking about back in the day. Ding.
Yeah, ding. So why don't you take a brief moment and let our listeners know where they can find you?
You can find me online, urbanaztec.com, jessehernandez.net, and also on social media at Urban Aztec. That's Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And good times, man. Appreciate you guys.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on again. All right, Teresa, where can people find you?
Yep. Thanks for coming on, Jesse. This was fun. If you all want to find me, yeah, it was good. I feel like I always get educated on these back in the day time warps. Now,
we spent like three-quarters of the whole thing talking about old school. You know,
I got to go back now and re-listen and make like a giant list of all the toys I need to Google and research up on that I don't know anything about. But yeah, so I'll have to go back because you're gonna have to help me, Gary, because I'm like I can't remember all the stuff. But yeah, if y'all want to find me, check me out on Instagram, tmhawk24.
And I'm Gary Ham. You can find me at Gary Ham on Instagram or superham.com. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We do this every week, not because we have to,
but because we want to.
So until our next transmission, we're signing off. Bye.
Bye.
That's what's up.
Nice. Ending it with a throwback.